Hello. My name is Spencer. Welcome to Iquitos, Peru. I'm hanging out here in my Airbnb, and welcome to my channel, a place where I really aim to just chew up, unpack different concepts built around self-actualization, self-empowerment, building your own confidence through these unconventional or thoughtful practices which I work through in my own life. I'm no one necessarily special, but I am someone who really likes to push the envelope of what we are capable of, and that's why I'm here making this channel, making this video to share with you. And in today's video, I actually was very inspired by the film which Will Smith stars in called The Pursuit of Happyness. And this is a film that most people has seen, but just to sum it up, basically what was going on is in the last 2 weeks, I'm here in Peru, and in the last 2 weeks I was away in the Amazon rainforest, enjoying being unplugged from society, unplugged from my phone, unplugged from all of this nonsense. And when I finally got out and checked into my Airbnb, this nice little pad here, I really wanted to just kind of unplug in a different way, the way I hadn't been in the jungle, and unplug by like turning on the television. I never really turn on the TV and surfing through the channels, and most things are in Spanish, but then I finally found a channel that was playing, or was going to be playing in any minute, The Pursuit of Happyness. So I spent my whole night just reflecting on this experience here in Peru, reflecting on who I am, who I want to be, and really enjoying the background ambiance of The Pursuit of Happyness, which is this film, this story based on a true story of a man who, from New York City in, I believe, the early 80s, was really struggling to provide for himself, provide for his family, his young child, for his wife, just really struggling through that grind of unsuccessful sales and rent and all this extremely stressful stuff. And in the film, you really feel for the character, which is played by Will Smith, and you really feel for this man's journey, all the adversity, the obstacles which he's facing along his journey. And it's quite a heartfelt film, and I highly recommend it. It's very beautiful because eventually, of course, it's a Hollywood film and it is a true story. There is a happy ending through all the obstacles. This man who had grit, the character portrayed by Will Smith, he has grit, he has perseverance, he's determined to make it as a stockbroker or whatever it is. And through this unpaid internship, something I could resonate with for sure, he finally proves himself and he gets this very almost like unthought of position that's only available to one intern out of all the interns, and he worked himself to the bone to do it. And that is the essence of The Pursuit of Happyness. Finally he's happy, finally he has abundance, finally he has wealth, finally he's happy, he can provide for his son, he can provide for himself, and he has it all settled and safe. But I really wanted to put a twist on it because when the conclusion of the film was brought about, I thought, like, it's weird how the film ends. It's weird how finally, as Will Smith declares in his narration, like, this is the moment of my life which I call happiness. It's when everything's done. It's when he's accomplished. It's when he's got the goal. It's when it's all wrapped up and figured out. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, I don't know, like, is this the right message to be giving? Like, it's a beautiful message. I'm not challenging this film at all. I think it's a beautiful film, but I was really sitting with that and just thought, like, isn't this movie, The Pursuit of Happyness, really about not so much the happiness, but really about the pursuit of what happens? And I was just sitting up here in Iquitos, just brainstorming and letting my brain fire off, and I was thinking, like, I want to make a video about this. So that's what this video is about today. It's the truth about happiness, the truth about the pursuit of happiness, and just how I want to rethink that film, rethink this concept of happiness, and rethink how the conclusion was presented to us, the audience member, about what is happiness. And I'm going to focus on one of my favorite concepts, which is the flow theory. And this theory, I believe, has been explored through many other authors, of which I forgot. So here on the screen, I'll pop up some books which I know they address the concept of flow. But where I discovered flow first and foremost was through Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, an author whose name I find myself in a flow state just pronouncing the whole mumbo jumbo of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote and really, I guess, founded or contextualized the concept of flow. And this is a book that I read when I was about 17 or 18 years old, and I just remember My copy of the book is severely annotated, and I was deeply in love and resonating with the whole thing because I started to really open up my mind to what is flow. So in this video, I'm going to bring about 3 things. We're going to first explore what is flow, which easily segues into why flow is important in your life. And then finally, we're gonna wrap with rethinking this concept inspired by the film, rethinking the pursuit of happiness and what that is. First and foremost, flow, the flow state is thought to be the optimal state of performance. And flow is often explored through athleticism, extreme athletes or professional athletes. Of course, they're often operating in a flow state. They've designed their lives for peak performance because of the demand for the peak performance in order to get the gold medal, in order to live as the best athlete of whatever sport they're performing in, they need to be the best. So in order for them to live in the flow state, in order for them to perform in optimal state in their sport, in their activity, they have to train hard, they have to focus, they have to basically live for their activity, for their sport, whether it's snowboarding, tennis, what have you. But additionally, flow, what I really pinged onto, because me personally, I'm not by any means an athlete at all. I'm not great with athleticism or sometimes speaking. But what I did ping on with was the author himself, the founder of Flow, Csikszentmihalyi. He was discovering flow in his life through playing games of chess. And he was finding himself in flow state during a game of chess, which to me was extremely interesting because it's like, well, chess is kind of boring, isn't it? But then it's like, no. There are people who are in love and fascinated with this game of chess. Additionally, there are people who might find themselves in a flow state reading. And I was finding myself in my teens being in flow while reading the book Flow, because it was really, I found myself picking up on epiphanies that I was just on the cusp, on the edge of figuring out. And then the author, Csikszentmihalyi, gave context to the things that I was just missing the words for. Like, this is what I've been looking for. It's the flow state. So in the flow state, the optimal state of performance, basically what's going on is your level, your skill level has harmony and just perfectly matches the challenge at hand. So if it is the game of chess, basically it would be that you know and understand your strategy in a game of chess, a challenging game of chess, and you could tap into flow because it's just enough challenge against your opponent versus your level of skill. And if it's going to be in athleticism and extreme sports, you've been training, you've been building up your skill level so that if you're like snowboarding and hitting a half pipe, you understand, like, yes, the half pipe is definitely a challenge, but you've been training so your skill level can meet the challenge. And you could build up your skills with the challenge at hand by maybe entering a competition, so the stakes are a little higher. Your challenge level, the challenge presented to you, gets a little higher, and it puts you in flow because maybe your skill level is just hovering right below the barometer of the challenge. And it's like, this is your chance to shine and really poke through, and you just zoom in to the optimal peak state of performance. Additionally, you could probably find this in meditation. You could find this in writing. That's something I personally really enjoy. I find this in making videos. Sometimes I find myself in a flow state making videos where the words are just flowing, literally flowing out of me effortlessly. And it's almost like in the optimal state of performance, you're channeling source through you. And I feel like when I was looking into flow, a lot of people will say that, like, it's not them dominating in the game of chess or dominating the half pipe on their snowboard, or it's not me making videos on YouTube. There's something speaking through me, and that's like the flow state. And of course, now we're getting super esoteric, but these are just the things that I think about that I find extremely fascinating, as being a vessel for flow, a vessel for truth, a vessel for optimal performance and engagement in the world, which is why I absolutely love flow. Now, flow wouldn't exist if it weren't for the opposing facets of what it is not. So there are 2 ways you fall out of flow, and this is definitely another part that I find extremely fascinating because, you know, if you look around the world, most people are going to be falling in the categories that I'm about to list. So the first way that people fall out of flow, and I'll lead with this one because I feel like if anything it's the lesser common one, but it's when your skill level is way too high for the challenge being presented. So the challenge is here, you know, the obstacle which you must overcome is down here, and you're up here. You're hitting half pipes every other weekend in the wintertime, and now you're snowboarding on a green run, which is considered a beginner's run, right? So it's like you're just like basically bored. So when your skill level is much too high for the challenge being presented, you find yourself in a state of apathy. You know, you're no longer engaged, you're disengaged, because you could basically do whatever the activity is with your eyes closed. The other way there is if the challenge is too high in your skill level, it's not something you've trained for. Like if I were to play a game of chess, I'd probably find myself meeting an opponent who has a skill, so the challenge is up here and my skill level is down here. I haven't been training for whatever is the obstacle in front of me, and I'm finding myself now falling in a state of anxiety. So that's the spectrum of flow. It's either a challenge far exceeds your skill level, therefore you find yourself in cortisol, you find yourself in reactivity and anxiety. It's not a steady, you're basically in survival mode, right? And then the peak performance is flow. It's where your skill level and the challenge being presented to you just meet harmony, perfect harmony, where it's like just engages you perfectly. That's when you start to channel source or whatever that tangent was. And then otherwise, it's when the skill level is way too low. Sorry, the skill level is way too high and the challenge is way too low, and therefore you find yourself in boredom. So this is a spectrum of complete apathy and disengagement, which sucks, and flow, optimal performance, optimal presence, and otherwise anxiety, stress, survival. And that is my interpretation of the flow theory presented by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And now, of course, I'll just segue briefly into why is this important? Why should anyone even care to know this stuff? Well, what I think is, like, when I'm looking around the world, I almost never see anyone living in flow. And I think that's why we get so hooked onto maybe watching YouTubers who really rock their shit when they're making videos for YouTube, or why we get hooked to watching extreme sports, why we get hooked to watching people who are professionals in their lives. Because most of us occupying this world, occupying society, we're just kind of living in either cortisol, stress, or we're living in apathy, boredom, disengagement. And we are mesmerized by people who are just living in what is thought to be like a perfect state of presence. And that's why flow is important, because I get bummed out when I'm walking around the world seeing people living in apathy. And probably these people just go through the humdrum of their lives. They maybe they operate in careers or jobs that don't inspire them, so therefore they're disengaged and they're just coping. They're just like bored and they don't even think twice about their lives anymore. They got to the point where they lost their edge. They're out of touch with the edge, with the possibility of engagement. And they just wake up, brush their teeth, hopefully, shit, eat, work, social media, TV, sleep, repeat, disengagement, no challenge, nothing to shake them awake. Or you see people in society who are super fucking strung out. They're stressed out. They're on their fifth coffee. They're coping. It's like the only way they could keep up with their schedules. Also probably a schedule a lot like waking up, eating, going to work, a stressful job, whatever it is, the kids, all these things. It's like survival mode, like keeping up, and I can't keep up, and the challenge is too high, and you're just always in reaction. You're always in stress. And in the middle, there's a possibility to really focus, train, execute, and meet the challenges with a skill level where you just engage enough. You're being challenged enough. You're inspired enough. And that's why I believe flow is so important to us. So we've covered what is flow, what is the fundamentals of how I interpret flow to be a thing that works. We cover why I believe it's important is because it's just so fucking sad watching people just droning about their days or super stressed out. When you see someone, like, you hear like a glass break in the background and people are like, that, like, duh, it icks me out. I think, fuck, man, it must suck to live like that, or it sucks to be bored, disengaged. And I've been on all of the spectrums. Absolutely. I've lived in all the spectrums. And finally, after we cover the fundamentals, what flow is, how it applies to life, I want to explore this film. And what I was watching last night in my Airbnb here in Iquitos, The Pursuit of Happyness, and Will Smith's character. I love this movie. I think it's great. I've seen it just a small handful of times, and I was really excited to watch it on TV last night after a beautiful, beautiful flow-induced experience in the jungle, because it's just an amazing movie. It's a man. He has a challenge. There are obstacles, but he's focused, and he trains and sticks his mind to the goal he wants and meets every single challenge, and his skill level and his grit, it increases. The barometer of what he could handle in life, it increases until finally, life unfolds and opportunity unfolds, and he gets the job, he gets the security, he gets the abundance. But what I thought was just kind of disappointing of how Hollywood wrapped up this true story is the focus was the happiness at the end of the film. And that was it. And based off of everything I've said in this video, this 16 minutes that you've been watching, I felt like, but are they getting the message across to the audience? Because I kind of got this impression that it's like, the happiness is when you have the thing. You have the thing, you got the thing, you got the results, you got the job, you got the security, you got the abundance, you got it. That's how I felt it was twisted at the end. It's like, he got it, he won. And of course, it's a beautiful story. I'm not debating that. But the focus of you got it, happily ever after, I was like, no, this movie resonates with so many people. And it's such I think it's a really popular film and story, because most of, 95% of the film is just pure adversity, and watching the will of an individual wanting to confront and overcome all of that adversity. And I have no doubt in my mind that this film probably inspired hundreds of thousands of people to want to wake up a little bit more and realize fuck, I don't want to just settle for this. I want to wake up. I want the happiness. I want the abundance. I want the success. I want the security, which is something that I think is a really valid desire to have as an individual in this world, as someone who's watching this video, who has YouTube. You have the possibility to achieve probably something much greater than what you're living in right now. And it's really powerful to realize that, or to watch a film and have that inspiration being nurtured within you. But what I want to just leave with, and what I wanted to remind myself when watching this film last night, is it's all about that journey. It's all about not the pursuit of happiness, it's about the pursuit of flow. It's the pursuit of engagement. And when you meet these people, or hear about these archetypes, these people in our world who are greatly, they're extremely successful and happy, they're often the people who, they don't necessarily care about the fruits of their labor. It's not about the millions of dollars necessarily. It's not about the status necessarily. It's not about the mansion necessarily, but it's the people who really stayed committed to the journey. They love the art of what it is that they're doing, whether it's a game of chess, whether it's extreme athleticism, or maybe it's in sales, wherever it is that you find your flow state. That is the experience that's valid for you, which again is what this channel is about, is uncovering your truth, your authenticity. What resonates true for you will be different from what resonates true for me, or what resonates true for the dude who Will Smith portrays. And I think it's just so beautiful to really remember that every single day, that it's yes, it's awesome to want to manifest the goal at the end of the rainbow, the pot of gold. But what's a beautiful reminder, wherever you are in your life, is to remember confronting the obstacles and staying focused and wanting to achieve engagement with every single day, every single unfolding moment, whatever the challenges are that presents themselves. Those are the moments where you find wealth, you find abundance, you find happiness. It's not just the fruits of your labor, the fruits of your engagement, the fruits of your flow state. It's the moments where you really find who you are against a challenge being presented to you. And that's the sentiment I want to leave you with today on this video. So thank you so much for watching. Again, this channel is going to be it's a lot of this mumbo jumbo that we just covered in this video, and I'm just playing around with my little mind game. So I would love, if you're still watching, that if you leave a comment down below. I'm going to read and answer every single comment. I want to hear from you. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your thoughts on this flow state? How has flow served you? How do you want flow to serve you? I would love to hear that. And otherwise, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon to get notifications for when I upload more videos, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.